Hello, welcome to the Culture Cave. I'm Anthony, and that's Konrad.
Hello!
Konrad, I didn't want to go over your toes there, but at the same time, maybe we left it a little long.
I left a beat just to be sure. I was like, you know what? As Anthony got... You literally said to me before this started as well, we're going to have, it's a no-nonsense introduction this week. We've got a lot to get through. And I'm still like, I'm going to give him his space. I'm going to I don't want to impinge on this. But, it was... A beat too long there.
A beat too long, but at the same time, you know what? I appreciate it, Konrad, and you know what? It's better a beat too long than a beat too little. Let's move into then Konrad's pre-thoughts.
Hello! Welcome to another one of these pre-show videos where I incorrectly predict what I think is going to happen in the next episode. I don't think I've got a single one of these right, although I will be honest, I'm not paying that much attention to them after we do the main episode with Anthony. So, what do I think is going to happen in episode 4? I don't know what it's called yet. I assume we've had the fog, the boy, the ship. So, I don't know. The man, maybe? Who knows? I think we're going to get some more object-oriented programming stuff that's thrown in there to fuel the fires of me thinking this is a simulation. Maybe we'll meet a new character and they'll be called JavaScript or something like that. Not seriously, semi-seriously, but not seriously. Jerome and Oleg, double act. I'm banking on that. That seems like a great time to be had by all, and I'm looking forward to it. And I think Mora and Ike, one of those two, you can pretty much set your watch to them being the stars of most episodes to some extent. They seem like the main characters insofar as this has main characters, and I think one of them is going to see something in this episode that hints even further at this being a simulation. So we shall see how close I get to being right, or indeed how laughably wrong I am in a little while, and I shall see you then.
Hey you. Yeah. You. Do you like 1899? Well, as well as these breakdown videos, we also do theories, unanswered questions, and plenty more. Subscribe so you don't miss it. The episode opens with war. What is it good for? Konrad, what's it good for?
Absolutely not. Yeah, okay. I thought we were doing more of that. Yes, war. I'm gonna say this right now.
It's not China. This is not China. This is not China. Didn't you say there was
I got absolutely hammered on the theory matrix in this episode. I was like, shit, this is not China, this is not the Boxer Rebellion, and even the intricacies. And I know he's going to do it. I know he's going to rake me over the coals in this episode of the podcast for it. He's criticised me before for putting too much detail in my theories, and didn't it come back to bite me in this episode? My theory about there being some kind of I guess there was a betrayal to be fair, but it's not the kind of betrayal I was imagining. And me proposing Jerome as this like war hero when in fact they're both just deserters and one betrayed the other. So yeah. A bad start, and it only got worse from here as far as the theories were concerned.
Yeah, that's true. And also, I will, just for the record, I will say, I did say to you, maybe just put down that they used to be brothers in arms.
No, I can't do it.
Right, okay.
Once the theory's in there, it has to go down. That's the rules.
Yeah. Also, there was a comment last week as well talking about potentially in the theory matrix we could have like sub theories within the main theory to try and save you. No. Konrad hangs himself with these. Yeah. If he wants to do so, he can do so. But I love the suggestion, and I love that people are thinking about the theory matrix, and it is a big part.
That's flattering. But yeah, I mean, I will undo myself with absolutely no problems without putting sub theories in there. Like, don't you worry about that.
Yeah. He's a master.
I did like this intro though.
The intro is good. So they have like the war. I don't actually know what war this is. It seems to be in Africa. I
assume it's North Africa, but I could easily be. Maybe it's like Tunisia or something like that, or like Algeria, one of those French colonies in North Africa.
Yeah. So I immediately started googling 1890s, French wars in Africa. But at the same, but there was obviously there's a lot of countries in Africa that French took over. But I don't know which one in particular this is. So anyway, Lucien, as you mentioned before, they're both sort of deserters. Although Jerome, I suppose, is sort of. He's fighting against it. He doesn't really want to do it. But Lucien basically says, "I'll take this lieutenant's uniform. We'll say that you saved me. We'll go back. We'll both be heroes in France." So did you see? Yeah. So you already alluded to this as a different backstory than you thought. Did you like this scene as an opener?
I did. I really like the fake out of the episode beginning with like gunfire, which, given the context of how the previous episode ended, one might be forgiven for being like, oh, that's the mutiny that's going on, and there certainly is gunfire related to the mutiny later in this episode. But it's a nice little fake out, because you think you're going to get one thing, and then suddenly it's like, no, we're getting Jerome and Lucian first. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I love pretty much everything about Jerome in this episode, to be honest. It was a great episode for him as a character, and Lucian to a lesser extent, actually. You get a lot of both of them in this episode. But yeah, this is probably the most explicit kind of character backstory we've had thus far, I guess. Like with Ike, you've kind of had... Lingy was fairly explicit actually in the last episode. But Ike is kind of like this mysterious burning of his family. Mora, we don't really have any clue what's going on there. But Lingy and Jerome and Lucian are like the first characters to really be kind of coloured in, so to speak.
Yeah. No, I agree. I like this introduction. I kind of like the backstories in this show. I think that these creators. I know you didn't watch all of Lost. Who knows? Some alternate universe we'll go through that one day. But But I know, like, so these creators were big fans of Lost. Obviously, they admit the issues that Lost had. We all know those, but they were big fans of it. And I think that having like the idea that they're in this sort of isolated place like Lost there on the island, and then also having these flashback style backstories, very very Lost centric to me. I will say here, Konrad, for me, and this is not something I've talked about anywhere on the channel yet. Now, I know you're aware a little bit, I suppose, about the idea that this is filmed on a volume. The volume being the technology that they use in The Mandalorian, the big LED screens. Using, I think it's actually like an Unreal Engine they use or something. I don't know actually what their engine is, but it's a video game engine anyway, as what they use to be able to capture everything in camera. Now, the reason they did this was because of COVID, and therefore they were able to have all the actors together, sort of quarantining together to make the show, rather than the logistical nightmare that doing it during COVID times without that would have been. Here's my first big criticism of the show so far, and I'm gonna say I've watched the behind the scenes featurette, which you'll look forward to watching after you finished the series. They did everything they could to make the volume look good. The volume looks amazing 99% of the time, and they choose the particular lighting situations for it to look good. In this war opening with the bright light coming through, and they're in this trench, for me, this is the first part of the show where it looks a little budget to me. I don't think it looks terrible. I really don't think it looks terrible. I think they've done a great job, and I understand the limitations they had. But this is it's the only scene where I start sort of seeing the edges a little bit. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. No. I mean, I wonder if that's partially because I wasn't necessarily looking for that because. Well, I guess actually that's kind of a feature of these creators' shows, is that the narrative and like the theming is like normally so complex that I can honestly like not notice a lot of the kind of technical aspects of it. Which probably helps with things like that, because I've no doubt that if I was looking for it, if I was fully aware that it was filmed in a volume, I'd be like, oh yeah, you can see it there. I didn't notice it, but I imagine you're not alone in having that opinion.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of hiding it, but because I'm watching it with a certain lens, aren't I? Because I've been theorizing about the show for 2 years. I know it's filmed in a volume, and therefore whenever I see this, I'm like, oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, there it is.
I'll also say, how like at the start of the show, there was like shots of like that big black pyramid in the start of episode 1, and like it was in sort of like a snowy tundra style place, and then they've also got like these shots in the deserts or whatever. One of my biggest, just before we move on, the listeners will like to hear this. I think one of my biggest regrets is that when I was watching Andreas Pietschmann have an interview, and he said about the volume, he said, it's amazing. Like, we're able to be anywhere in the world instantaneously. Like, we don't have to go to whatever he said, like the North Pole or the Arctic. We don't have to go to the desert. We don't have to go to sea. We can just do this. And in my head, I straight away thought, oh, why is he mentioning those places? They must be going there in the show. And then I just, and then the thought left my mind. And then whenever I watched the show, I was like, oh my God, he just told us in the interview. He just told us,
Yeah. Andreas Pietschmann, you shouldn't have told everyone we were going to space, okay? Like, that's completely ruined the show.
Well, you didn't say that. Okay. Yeah, let's keep our feet on the ground here. So, Jerome wakes up in the brig, getting hit by after getting hit by Lucian in the flashback.
A lot of people get hit in the head with guns and are fine in this show, and I know that's like a trope of
Even in Dark that happened, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm always just like, that would probably kill you doing that. Like, that's a heavy thing to be hit in the head by.
People can get killed by getting punched. Imagine getting hit by the big metal gun. Like, okay, yeah. So Jerome wakes up. He's ready to punch everyone. He's in the where is this? He's in. Oh yes. He's in.
They're in the brig.
He's in the brig with all the people. Franz comes in, takes Oleg and Jerome, and leaves Ike in there with Ramiro.
I want to say as well, like, I know we don't get much of them, but when Ramiro, Ike, Jerome, and Oleg are in the brig together, I was like, this is the dream team, really, isn't it? Like, this is. You've got Messi and you've got Cristiano Ronaldo on the same team at long last.
In their prime.
Yeah, in their prime here. And then obviously, you know, the flame that burns twice as bright burns half as long. We lose it immediately, and that's a real shame. But I do love the divisions that are drawn on between like the mutineers or not. No, I suppose they are all mutineers. I was going to say, are the Norwegians and Danish people technically mutineers because they're like passengers? But I think I'd probably call them mutineers. Mm-hmm. But between the social divisions on the ship and between like the moral divisions as well. And these four here all seem like, with maybe the exception of Ramiro, or because he has killed a priest, maybe Ike as well. Actually, we don't know that much about Ike. And actually, having said that, we know literally nothing about Oleg. So maybe they're all terrible. I was going to say these seem like the good guys, but we don't actually know at all.
Well, it's funny you say that. Actually, that reminds me. Sorry, I cut you off midstream. One thing you've never mentioned, and I don't know. Sometimes for the new listeners, sometimes I like to prod Konrad to get a theory because.
Yeah.
So one thing you've never mentioned, talking about Ike being the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
In the photo of him and his family, they're all wearing white, but he's wearing black, right? So I don't know.
He does like black. He likes wearing black. Yeah. I feel like there may be a visual metaphor going on with Ike's costuming, but I'm not prepared. Well, again, I'm trying not to do this as much as possible because I want 1899 to be discussed and to stand on its own. But going on Dark, Andres Peachman's character is a complex character, and I expect that to be the same here. I don't think they very rarely deal in like absolutes when it comes to the morality of their characters, and I expect that to be true of everyone, Ike included.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, like we've already seen that with Lucien, really, haven't we? Because Lucien came across as a real bastard in the first few episodes, and now they're starting to colour in the edges a little bit now.
Yeah, exactly. Like they kind of are like, and he goes back and forth just within this episode. There are moments where I was like, okay, like he's sympathetic, even if I don't agree with him, and then there was moments where I was like, all right, okay, back on the bastard train, Lucien goes.
Yeah.
One thing I will point out just before we move on from this scene is, and it may be nothing, I may be kind of jumping at shadows a little bit here, but I thought it was interesting that Conor McGregor isn't here despite ostensibly also being taken prisoner. We do see him later kind of under armed guard, but I wonder why these four were the ones that they took to the brig and the others were left out.
The first mate, Conor McGregor, wasn't put in the brig with the captain. He was left with like the rest of the sort of lower level crew. That's interesting, actually. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Okay, so pile of bodies. That's where Oleg and Jerome are taken.
Yeah, that's a lot of dead people.
You finally get your Oleg and Jerome team up again, and their job is to throw bodies over the thing. So, are we to assume that Daniel's been busy here?
I think it is Daniel. And yeah, I guess he has. I guess he's just he's been beavering away below decks. Just murdering people.
Deploying his beetle, bringing them back.
Deploying his beetle, his bug, to break into people's rooms, murdering them, and then going on his merry business, I suppose.
What's a fisherman to do but catch fish? That's what he does.
Exactly, yeah.
He's so anyway, we'll catch up with them throwing bodies over later. The episode's called The Fight. And this was actually... This episode was very centered around one thing, which other episodes haven't been so far. This was very much centered around the disagreement, the idea of finding the boy, the idea of this big schism within the passengers, and it's called The Fight for that reason, I believe. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I think there's like you see the word The Fight the phrase "the fight," you can interpret lots of like kind of subtext from that. But I do think it's meant pretty explicitly as far as this episode is concerned, because there is obviously a big fight at the end of it.
A real big fight. Okay, so more on the boy. She locks him in, leaves him there. That will be, I suppose, we'll come back to that later, because it sort of confirms that there is a hatch in Moore's room as well, and also the idea that like he's being locked away because everyone's looking for him as well.
I did. I wrote down a theory, and it's actually in a couple of scenes' time that I wrote it down, but I might as well mention it now. I wrote this down when the below decks folk who are engaging in the mutiny started saying, "We need to go get the boy," and I was like, "They're not going to get the boy. He's going to disappear into that shaft." And I'm like,
"Yeah, well,
lo and behold,
dead on." Okay, so the Prometheus is gone. It's funny that's the way they, because we saw the Kerberos disappear, and then the Prometheus was gone. I'm going to come clean here. When I first watched the show, little shout out to my eventual videos where Emer and I gave our thoughts. I was sort of on a similar track to you. Not exactly. You sort of have a bit more knowledge in terms of ICT and stuff, which led you down a different path than potentially me. But I'm going to tell you this right now. When I first watched this episode 4, I assumed that everything was going to be like reset or something. Having seen the Kerberos disappear and Daniel, like, buttoning away with this little device, I thought like we were going to start afresh, which didn't happen actually. So we are back on course where they were before, or like they think they were, and then they decide, well, whatever, we need to go west. So they start the engine up full throttle, and they're gonna continue on. So few thoughts. One, what do you think about the fact that they're completely different location, still back on the course? And two, what do you think about the idea? Yeah, well, what do you think about the idea that it's been reset to where they were 3 days ago?
Yeah, so I haven't, like, a full disclosure, I haven't watched this episode in a couple of days now, so it's not completely fresh in my mind. But at the end of the last episode, we discussed that it was the Kerberos and not the Prometheus that disappeared in the big wide shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, it was because it was the one that was lit up that disappeared.
Yeah, so it was the Kerberos that disappeared. So I'd kind of said at that point, I think that they've kind of that Daniel doing his stuff with the controller device has like basically started the Prometheus's own instance and like kicked the Kerberos out of it or something like that. I still think that's true, although that doesn't exactly line up with my knowledge of how like instantiating classes works, and not to go too deep into the programming stuff again for this video. But I think they've definitely been reset. So I will. Having said I'm not going to do it, I'm now going to talk about something. So when you're programming, there are things called like breakpoints that you can like basically like recurse back to. So you can be like, okay, I'm going to hit this bit, and then I want to see where you go, but I can bring it back to this bit if I want to. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if what Daniel did at the end of the last episode was returning the Kerberos to a breakpoint to say, no, this is where you need to be, and that's manifested as the ship and all the people aboard it being sent back to their coordinates at the start of the second episode, I guess it would be. Before they went on this little foray into the Atlantic to find the Prometheus. Yeah,
so like I think basically in layman's terms, like a video game checkpoint, like a Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, like exactly like that. Like you're loading a save basically.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That makes sense to me. I will say that having done some thinking over the last few days, based on what you said about this whole IT, computer science situation, I realized something which actually kind of supports your theory. So I'm not going to tell you what happens the rest of the series because that's not important. But I was thinking to myself, one big question that I would always have, right, about like this is like, why would these creators know so much about computer science? And,
that's a good point.
And then I realized, do you remember that film that we reviewed a while ago?
Yeah. I was going to say they made a film about hacking.
Yeah, they made a film about hacking. So they made a film called Who Am I? And these creators are really thorough, and therefore I could imagine that they have these ideas in the bottom of a drawer thinking, oh, we'll use that in a project one day.
Break glass in case of emergency.
Yeah.
And it's just like a picture of Neo from the Matrix and a bunch of notes written underneath it. That's what they did.
Yeah.
And the end result was 1899, I think.
Yeah. That's crazy. That is crazy to me. But that lined up in my head. I was like, oh my god, Konrad's onto something here. So so lower class people question the crew. This is what you mentioned before. Sebastian, Conor McGregor. He is he's with them.
He's there.
He tells them about the sink ship telegram.
Yeah, so he kind of comes clean with them.
Yeah.
I still suspect him of being slightly more complicit in the level of
the meta story.
Yeah, exactly. The thing that Daniel is also seemingly aware of than he's letting on, because he can read triangles, which isn't a language as far as I'm aware. I also find it quite interesting here that Tova is talking about characters being kind of like shaded in, and we've spoken before about like the efficiency of storytelling and characterization in these shows, and I think this is a really great example of that, because she goes from a character who was like very, very like gung-ho about taking back the control of the ship, and to a character who seems very reluctant to like implicate a young boy in the murders that are taking place on the ship, which is just like an interesting kind of little like moral wrinkle to her character.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think actually in this episode we see that Tova is a little bit, she's not as sort of religiously sort of aligned as the other ones would be. You know what I mean? So that is interesting to me. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest with you, based on all the trailers and stuff that I saw. I didn't expect Tova to be the one that was sort of straying from the family, I suppose, so early on.
Yeah.
But yeah. So very, very interesting. And then Ivan puts hand on Tova's belly and says, "I won't stand by and let Satan win." So. There was also
I'm not a fan of this woman. I'm going to say it right now.
Yeah,
I know it might be controversial, but I'm not a fan.
Yeah, Mads Mikkelsen. Jesus Christ. But, okay, so Mora is doing some sneaking. We'll come back to that. Ramiro helps free Ike.
Unbelievably powerful kicks from Ramiro there. Like, Ike's struggling away with this pipe, and Ramiro's just like, I've got this one.
Yeah, we know how he killed the priest. That's
kicked. We're looking for a suspect with thighs the size of tree trunks for kicking a priest to death in Porto.
Yeah, all that kneeling in church did it.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, so, okay, so, interestingly, I thought it was interesting that the first body thrown overboard was Ava. Oh, I've done it! I've done it! It's Ada! I've done it! I've done what Konrad did.
Oh, there you go.
How did I do that? I don't know. Sorry.
I'm still waiting to see. I wrote Cresta every single time in my notes in this episode, but we'll see how that goes as the episode goes on.
Yeah. Maybe there'll be another one I can correct you on. So Ada is the first one thrown overboard. So that was just interesting to note. But then there was also a little bit of chat about what do you think? Do you think that they died on the Prometheus like this? So sort of Jerome and Oleg talking about sort of the Prometheus at this point. Anything you noted about this scene?
I mean, it certainly stands to reason, because Mora and Ike didn't seem to find any fragments of bone or teeth in the coal ovens when they were searching the Prometheus. So, where did the bodies go? This seems like our best guess at the moment. But I'm very open to that being completely disproven in the next episode, as is often the case with these shows.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. But Jerome also, there's another little thing in this here. Jerome sees his former lieutenant,
yes,
as one of the bodies, and gets a little fright. What I've sort of come to start calling a flashback attack. That's what I've been started calling these.
That's what it is. It's like it's like a little kind of jump scary kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's also just designed to perk up the audience by virtue of a sudden pace change. And actually, I mean, Jerome deals with it pretty well, and he deals with a lot of stuff pretty well in this episode. I have to say. Yeah,
Jerome's an awesome guy. I think. What do you actually? Do we ever get any theories from you about like the idea of him being a stowaway?
No, not really. I mean, I've got some. I've got one about him in this episode. But I mean, it's not explicitly to do with his being a stowaway, but more to do with what happened to him after the events that are depicted in the flashbacks conclude, and him stowing away. But yeah, I mean, I suppose it just stands to reason that he's a criminal, really. Like, he's a wanted criminal who escaped prison, presumably, and came after Lucien.
Yeah, fair enough. Because in the first episode, you never actually put together that he was a stowaway, I don't think. But he was like, remember he came out of the coal?
That's one of those things where I was like, I'll probably come back to haunt me. I was like, well, he's obviously a stowaway, and I didn't write it down.
Yeah,
and then I might come to need those points like later.
Well, you never said it. You never said it.
No, I didn't say it. I can't. I've not got a leg to stand on.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so next up we have the scene with Clemence and Lucien, and let me just tell you, I think this is the one where we're sort of starting to see a bit more from Lucien. Clemence is actually just a little bit passive in this scene. Sort of Lucien's just like putting it all out there, like talking about the potassium bromide, which I think actually was. Now, maybe I'm just confusing clear liquids, but I think that was actually used to treat like PTSD back in the day, at least if Babylon Berlin is anything to go by. That's a character he uses in that. Lucien says life is pain. He only has a few weeks to live. We get that knowledge that he's actually sort of seems to be dying. Terminal. Yeah. And he says, and then when she says, "Why didn't you tell me this?" He says, "Well, I know you don't care if I live or die." And to that, she doesn't like say, "What are you talking about?" Like, she actually just accepts that. Interestingly.
Yeah.
And then actually, we'll talk about that now, and then we'll talk about how the scene ends at the end. Yeah.
Well, like Clemence is like an interesting. I keep pronouncing it Clemence. I didn't actually listen to see if that's how they pronounce the name. I've just kind of zhuzhing it up a little bit because it's French.
I think it is Clemence, and that is a pronunciation that I'm happy with. We are going to keep saying Angel. If I'm just, I'll not say any more on it, but if someone doesn't understand why we don't want to say Angel, then I don't know what I can do for you there. And maybe it's just that, I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable saying pronouncing it like that. I don't say Barcelona. I'm not comfortable saying Barcelona. So I say Barcelona. We're giving you Angel. Take it for what it's worth. It could be Angel.
If they travel to Munich in this, we'll call it München. Okay, that's the compromise we'll make. We'll get some pronunciations correct. But yeah, no, I think she's interesting in this episode, Clemence, because she's like. It's hard to get a read on her exactly because obviously, like, her and Lucien aren't happy in their relationship. That much is clear from the inter-character moments we've seen between them. But I think there's also. I wasn't fully on board with the kind of unrequited lust and like passion that her and Jerome showed for each other in this episode. That felt a little unearned to me because it just kind of came out of nowhere. Now, it could be the case that maybe they actually do know each other from before this meeting aboard the Kerberos, in which case you can just disregard that. But certainly with the knowledge I have of this show at the moment, I was like, okay, that's a bit odd. And I think it really stood out to me because she is so neutral in this scene. It's like, oh, okay, you're dying. Well, fine then. Yeah. And really, really, the passion only comes out when he finds the medal and gets violent with her.
Yeah, exactly. So he gets violent with her, pushes her up against the wall. That was actually one of my early theories being come to sort of be correct because I don't know why I predicted that there would be an aspect in some way of domestic violence in this relationship before, and then the trailer came out and there was that part of him pushing her up against the wall, and I was like, ching ching. First time I've ever celebrated domestic violence, I'll have you know. But yeah, so
hopefully the last.
Yeah, well, no, it will be the last, unless another theory comes true. But yeah, so we'll watch this relationship. I know what you mean about the Jerome and Clemence thing. So let me say something about that. So I found in the first scene where remember they met on the outside sort of deck, and like they had the real moment where they were looking in. What's your name, Clemence? What's your name, Jerome? And I think she said, "Do I know you? And I've seen you somewhere before." I think there's a couple. Remember we talked about there was a couple of instances of people saying that. I felt real chemistry between the two actors in that, and maybe it's just the chemistry. But so therefore, I suppose when this happened in this episode, I didn't feel it was out of nowhere. I sort of felt that there was an innate chemistry between the two. Whether that will lead anywhere, I don't know. If this episode's anything to go by, they seem to be doing something with the characters. But I don't know if you felt that. Maybe you didn't feel that. That's why.
No, I think there was definitely chemistry between them earlier on. I think it just felt like there was like maybe a scene missing of them establishing a relationship. But I mean, they're two lost souls at sea clinging to each other in the storm, I guess. So, maybe that's the nature of the relationship.
Lovely. Love it, Konrad. Okay, maybe you can get a job writing for season 2. Okay, so...
get in touch.
Get in touch, Baron. So, Mora wants to see the captain. She wants to see the captain. She says to Franz that he's just a boy playing with power. So Franz, I'm liking Franz so far. Having said that, like a big murderous mutiny going after a young child, not quite sure, but that's like the first thing that he's done, which I think is questionable. What are you thinking about? So Mora's looking for the captain. He knows that Ike and Mora were really close. Why isn't he questioning her more? What?
Yeah, I mean, Franz is an interesting character because he seems loyal, but he's also the one who's betrayed, or the only one who's really committed a significant betrayal in this. Yet he seems kind of loyal to the concept of the journey that they're undertaking, at the expense of everything else. So he's an interesting character. Mora is a character actually that I struggle to fully understand, because in this scene she basically says to Franz and the crew on the bridge that they're making a mistake, but she doesn't really elaborate on what that mistake is or what she thinks it is. And I honestly don't fully grasp what it is, what mistake it is she thinks they're making. Obviously, I think she can probably sense that the boy is going to be scapegoated for the events that are taking place on the ship. Although having said that, no, she does know they're dying because she saw Ada's body. So maybe that's where she's coming from. It's just her kind of maternal instinct to protect the boy. But it feels like there's more that she's aware of that we, the audience, maybe aren't fully clued in on yet.
Yeah, well, she definitely is. We don't know who her brother is. She talked about she's going to try and find her brother. She talked about I believe she mentioned her father as well. So there's a lot of going on with Mora that we don't really know, and therefore you're right. We are sort of with her in the sense of there is stuff going on which I don't think she knows, but definitely she knows more than we know. Okay, so. Just going to mention it because I mentioned everything. You know what I do, guys? Ike takes a grate off. He comes as if to suggest he's out of the brig now and he's going to climb and get back into the ship.
Yeah, him and Ramiro are out of here.
Yeah, they're out of here. So your simulation theory has got me... It's infected my brain to the point where when I'm watching the show now, I'm picking up some funny ideas. So nice. Whenever the next scene where Anchor is looking at his Bible and he's basically he's the one who's leading the prayers for the Danish folk, right? He's the one who's leading the prayers. So it's really interesting to me that he's only now seems to be gaining faith. So he's the one leading the prayers, but he's only starting gaining faith. So before we get into the serious conversation, I wrote down Anchor is beginning to believe, which really which reminded me of the Matrix. So imagine just someone sitting at the computers going, he's beginning to believe.
He's doing his Superman thing. It's just Anchor across the Atlantic Ocean.
That would be amazing. But maybe that God gave Tova a gift with the baby. Tova doesn't... Anytime someone mentions that this baby is God's gift or whatever, right? Tova seems very not okay with that idea, but doesn't voice it.
Yes. So there's a theory I have that might be a million miles off that I'll probably talk about a little bit later because I think it's solidified in a later scene. But I will say in this scene, so Anchor is grieving the loss of his daughter and believes God speaks to his wife. That's fair enough, whatever. Those are normal things to do. I'm not sure if God is speaking to his wife, but that's fine. You know, you can believe that if you want. But the way he's performed, he feels like a desperate person being manipulated to me. And I do agree with you that I think he strikes me as a person who has lost his faith, and possibly because of something traumatic happening to him or his family, and has clung to his wife's fanaticism as any kind of like vestige of religious belief that he can cling to, because he needs to feel like there's a sense of greater meaning in life to understand something that's happened to him. And Tova seems much more cynical about the entire thing, but she also seems, I don't know what her relationship with him is like, because there are things about this baby. Well, we're not going to go into it now because it'll come up again a bit later. But I have some thoughts about the source of this baby that I'll maybe go into in a few scenes' time. That's all I'll say for now.
Okay. Theories are cooking. Next up, we get the gathering outside of Mora's room, which is basically Sebastian and Ivan. They want the boy. Sebastian comes out and goes, "I'm on your side. I want the boy too." They demand that they open the door. The door is opened. The boy is gone.
Would you look at that?
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. Konrad gets it.
Yeah.
10 minutes later. So they lock Mora in, and then Mora hears knocking from under the bed.
Yes. Well, before that happens, Conor McGregor and Mora exchange a knowing glance, emphasized by the camera panning to the bed and then back to Conor McGregor's face before he leaves the room.
As if he knows something.
He knows that there's a shaft under that bed. That camera move was not an accident.
Maybe that's what the triangle said.
Yoncha. Well, yeah, maybe that's true. Maybe they said check every bed. Right?
Yeah, especially the ones with triangle trapdoors underneath.
Yeah, if you find one with a triangle under it, that's your guy. So yeah, I'm just more and more convinced that he is very much aware of what this ship is and what is happening aboard it.
Okay, awesome. Let's have a little bit of levity now, Konrad.
Now it's like a breath of fresh air when these two turn up. It really is.
It's funny. You know what I find hilarious is that on the subreddit 1899, not long ago, someone posted like a picture of these two and says, "These are the funniest part of the show for me." I'm like, they're the only part of the show.
They're literally the only comedy. Like this is a comedy reprieve.
Like, what else are we supposed to be laughing at?
Meaningless characters talk about werewolves and vampires for like 30 seconds, and then we're back into the action. It's a palate cleanser.
Like the comedy garlic around the neck, like unbelievable.
Textbook.
Yeah, what the hell? There's like someone saying it's my favorite, like the funny. What else are we supposed to be laughing at? Just like every time the beetle is on the ground, we're just laughing at it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anytime Daniel murders a child, it's like, what a character.
Yeah. I have to keep telling myself. I try not to judge people based on small things like that. But I have to, like, every time I'm like on Reddit or something, like, or even like some YouTube comments and stuff. You know, not our YouTube comments, of course. All our YouTube commenters are fantastic. But I always have to tell myself, this could be a 13-year-old child making this comment. This could, like you always have to remember that. Don't get into arguments with 13-year-old children on the internet. That's sort of the way where
you won't benefit from it.
I do enough of that at work, So, Daniel. While we're down there, like talking about the garlic, Daniel sneaks into the Kerberus's engine room and goes over to where the Kerberus also has one of these sort of you called it like a rudimentary circuit board machine.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, it's ostensibly a device for measuring steam pressure. I think we can all agree that's definitely not what that is. As far as I'm aware, devices that measure steam pressure don't make ships disappear. I don't think that's an unreasonable take.
It depends how high the steam pressure is.
Well, that is true. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, if it gets high enough, they'll disappear very quickly and very violently. But yeah, so so first things first. We've seen it before in Dark, and we see it again here. I love the production design of things like this. They have such a skill. I presume it's the same people who designed the time machines in Dark. Such a skill for designing kind of things that have a certain, I don't want to call it steampunk, but there's like there's a kind of antiquated quality to a lot of it, where it's like
Yeah.
this features incredibly futuristic technology, but it's also using lots of cogs and sliding brass parts and all that kind of
It
stuff.
really is kind of steam. I would say maybe
It is kind of steampunk.
It
yeah.
evokes steampunk. You know, it evokes
Yeah.
steampunk.
But yeah, so I love it. I love the production design of that. I love his little controller that he like switches around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it looks like someone has stuck a Connect 4 that they've painted grey onto the back plate of a Nokia N-Gage. Like it looks so ridiculous. I mean I love it. It's great. But yeah, I mean if you look at like the side parts that you can see that look like a circuit board, I mean it hints, as if we needed the hint, at a level of technology that far surpasses even present day. So I don't know what's going on there. It's the short answer. Like that's not 1970s watching this stuff on a monitor kind of technology. That's maybe we could make something that looks like that in 2022 kind of technology. So yeah.
Well, actually, let's dive into this then, because you got a simulation theory, right? So when you ask questions like that, it makes me not really understand what your overall theory is, because surely you could just explain that away by saying this technology just exists within the simulation.
Yes, that's true. You could, but I feel like that would be while that would be a functional excuse, I feel like that would be a missed opportunity, and I don't think like these two writers don't tend to put things in loosely. You know, if they're showing something in this, whether it be a simulation or not, and it's one of the reasons why if it is a simulation I don't really mind, because I feel like everything that's happening is still filling in the blanks of a world that we're not even seeing at the moment. Okay. So something like this, I mean, like honestly, when I saw that I was like, okay, so if this is all a simulation and this is a little glimpse into the kind of technology whatever civilization has the technology to run that simulation has, then are we going to step up a level and be like, oh, they all wake up and it's like the year 2220 and like everyone's wearing like silver suits and they're living on a base on the moon? Like is that the kind of thing that we're going to do? And I honestly don't know at the moment, but I feel like they're putting these kind of things in as a hint at what kind of level of technology we're dealing with in the world beyond the simulation.
Okay, yeah, I get you. Because even like the idea of like a 1970s, like how could they visualize what this technology would be? Yeah, like I think I understand what you're putting down there. Okay, so the body dumping is going really well. So Oleg and Jerome, they're just flying through these bodies, but they have an idea. Jerome has an idea to get, to escape and go lower deck. Sort of leaving Oleg in the shit there.
Yeah, he kind of throws him a hospital pass. It was like, Oleg, you deal with these guys. I'm off.
Yeah, I'm off. Yeah. I've got a note from my mom. I've got a dentist appointment. But it takes months to get dentist appointments. Doesn't matter. She somehow got one this afternoon.
It's private.
Go. Yeah, it's private. Yeah. Off they go. So, flashback attack. Not really much information in this flashback attack. Just sort of a few flashes. And then he goes into Clemence's room, which is what we talked about earlier. And so this is the part where we start seeing huge hints that these two have chemistry or something.
Yes.
Where she starts saying like you should stay and stuff like this. So what do you think about that?
So I will say as well, actually, that I didn't mention this in the last scene, but Daniel inputs a command, and the next thing we see happen is all of the guards who are watching Oleg and Jerome turn around simultaneously, which makes me think that it was Daniel's command that made them do that. Like he's issuing some kind of commands to the simulation to affect behavior within it. In terms of the Oleg and Clemence stuff, as I said, it's there's definitely chemistry there. There's definitely a spark that I like. I feel like there may be one scene removed from me really believing in the romance, but it's still, they're both very, or particularly Jerome, strong characters. And I like Jerome's fire in this episode. He's got some of that baby face fire that I love. He's like Surfer Sting. That's what he's just kind of like he's firing up the troops. He's beating his chest.
You can't lose you can't lose when you have that fire. You can't.
No, exactly. You can't. He's hulking up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he talks about people taking power who don't deserve it never ends well, which I think is really interesting. I think that's another one of those little comments that definitely works within the context of Jerome's story, but probably is also saying something about the wider narrative that's going on here as well.
Yeah. He's learned that lesson in his past, and therefore he's passing that on now.
Exactly. Yeah. And Clemence, yes, like it's just like, oh, I'm gonna help, which is like fair enough. Like that's a that's a ballsy move to be like, okay, well, everyone, she knows that people are running around this ship with guns. And like she's still just like, I'm gonna help. That's fine. So fair play to Clemence is all I'll say.
Yeah, good on her. Franz and Sebastian are having a wee chat. Sebastian basically says to Franz, now this is a little bit of a, if we haven't had it already, like we've had a few instances of it, but like a little bit of a sort of a turn on Sebastian's part. We must give them the child, he says, basically.
Yeah. He comes not as an enemy, but as a friend. Like he puts the arm around Franz that Franz was crying out for Ike to do, and he says, "Listen, you've just armed a lot of very angry people. Now, some people will call that a fuck up, but not me. I'm here to tell you it's fine. We just need to give them a little something to keep them sweet. How about the boy?" And Fran, like, and this is actually the moment where I was like, I think Franz is less of a morally, like, he's still certainly morally compromised, but I think he's less of a morally compromised character than Connor. I wonder, I've kind of theorized last week about the whole Henry Singleton thing. Is Henry Singleton even a real person, or does he just exist as a function within this simulation? I would believe that Connor is the same, because Connor doesn't really, I keep calling him Connor. What is his actual name? Is it Sebastian?
Yeah, interestingly, it is Sebastian, but interestingly, they said that Moore is not Irish, but she's got an Irish name. Whereas this guy's clearly Irish, but he doesn't have an Irish. This guy's Conor McGregor all over.
Yeah, it's Conor McGregor now. Yeah, like he just packed on like 100 pounds of muscle. But he doesn't seem at all moral. He doesn't seem at all conflicted by what he's proposing here. He's just like, this is what we have to do, so let's do it. Yeah. And that being giving up a child doesn't seem to bother him at all, which is kind of terrifying.
Yes. No, I would agree. Obviously, the idea... This is all... I like that you're able to get into these conversations, Konrad, because I was worried, because you thought it was all simulation. The rest of this series was just going to be you going, I don't care about that. Let's just... I don't care about these interpersonal
things. Let's get to the IT, okay? That's all I want to talk about.
That's what I was worried about. But so I'm glad we got these little chats. So they're checking all of the rooms for the boy. There's a few things that we can mention here. First of all, Angel knows Cresta's name whenever one of the fellas takes his watch, and then obviously Ivan is not happy about that.
Yeah, so is that Cresta's mum's name, Ivan?
Ivan is the name, yeah.
Ivan,
I don't know how to pronounce it, actually. I never actually picked up, but it's the subtitles say it says Ivan, so I'm pronouncing it.
Yeah, I'll have a listen out for that, because I have a feeling. Yeah, I have a feeling that she's going to be a significant character going forward, and she's also awful. So I feel like I'll talk about her a lot. But so some of Cresta's mother's people are trying to rob Angel, who ask Cresta to intervene, and his mother tells him that she wishes God had taken him instead of Ada, which is just the worst thing that you can say to a child. So, I mean, she's not scoring highly on the decent person report cards in this episode. But I think what I really love about this, and it does kind of speak to what you've just said about how, like, it's a simulation, doesn't matter. And it kind of does, because if these are humans who are having their consciousnesses projected into a simulation, and we joked about the Matrix earlier, but the Matrix kind of talks about this as well. Like, if it feels real, then what difference does it make? It's these are still experiences and emotions that they're having. And this relationship, I really like this relationship, because it's terribly sad and quite complex as well. Because I think although Angel can like seem caring, when he kind of talks to Cresta after his mother has like kind of abandoned him and said she wished that he died, I suspect that, like Ramiro has said, this is just like the latest in a long line of infatuations for him.
When I first saw that, actually, I was really disappointed, to be honest with you. I don't know, like, because that scene there, like, I don't know whether there's some sort of, obviously there's a power dynamic going on with Cresta and Angel, and we've talked about it before, but that scene there, the way Angel said, Cresta, he make sure he doesn't touch my watch or whatever. You tell him or whatever.
Yeah.
He didn't actually say it with any power in his voice. He actually said it quite. I don't know how you would even say it. He said it with a little bit of familiarity with Cresta in a way that didn't actually make me think that this relationship between the two is just a big power game. It actually made me think that there might actually be some more genuine feelings here.
Well, I mean, I do believe that Angel's feelings for the people that he's romantically involved with are genuine. Like I do think that Ramiro and him have had a relationship that's not just about a power dynamic, but about genuine affection. But I think, Angel's whole thing has been, you can't change the nature of a person. And I think that's the tragedy of his character, and any character who gets involved with him, is that this is who he is someone who will invariably lose interest in someone that he's been romantically infatuated with in the past, and move on to someone else, and he will leave that person if there has been a power dynamic in their relationship in the past, like there is with Ramiro. He's going to leave him guilty of murder and probably penniless and in a country where he doesn't speak the language and nowhere else to turn. And I do think they are playing on that relationship with Ramiro to build up the tension in this relationship with Cresta. Cresta is certainly depicted as maybe being a bit more formidable than Ramiro, though, so maybe it's not going to go that way this time. But I definitely think they're toying with that idea.
Yeah, exactly. I know what you mean. Yeah, because you have a character who's in the upper class going down and sort of literally across a cage. Being in this relationship with someone, it does bring the whole question of power dynamics within it. But as you say, Cresta is formidable. More formidable than Ramiro anyway.
Yeah, Ramiro is. I like Ramiro, but he's a bit of a wet blanket. Apart from his kicks.
Although he did actually go and get Ike. And everything like that, but I think that seems to be a new turn in his character. Yeah. He wasn't really like that before. But anyway, okay, so we've done that part. Mora questions the boy again. Now this part is one of my favorite, subtitle moments. Yeah, and that's audio warbles.
Yeah, there's a warble. A warbling is happening in the audio.
Yeah. When I first heard that. I honestly was, because obviously we've had the shot at the end of episode 2 with the screens looking quite 70s or 60s or whatever.
Yeah.
And the idea, I imagine someone turning a dial to hear what people are saying, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I could totally, one of those green screens with the little line that's Yeah. Exactly. I don't know what those are called. I'm sure there's a technical name for them. I don't know what it is, unfortunately. But
Audacity.
Yeah, Audacity. A visualizer in Windows Media Player is what that is. Yes, so the high-pitched tone returns once again. There is definitely a reason for that happening. I haven't figured out what it is yet, but it normally seems to concern the boy. And the audio warbles are subtitled as he uses his own bug. Or actually, I guess it's Daniel's. I'm still trying to figure out if Daniel has his own bug and the boy has his own bug, or whether they're just swapping it between them.
How many Beatles are there? That's interesting, actually.
Yeah, but he uses it to open the door, and Mora asks how he did it, which, let's be honest, is a valid question. That's a reasonable thing to ask. Is this child David Blaine, or is it something more magical than that?
Well, let's just say he does hold his breath a fair bit this episode.
He does. That's true. Yeah,
and be in a locked cupboard. So
yeah,
there's a fair bit of David Blaine in this boy.
Yeah, it makes me like him a bit less actually now that I've compared him to David Blaine. But we'll not hold that against him. Maybe he'll snap out of it and get a proper job.
More of a dynamo, I do wonder if people, listeners from outside the UK, know who Dynamo is.
I don't know if people in the UK know who Dynamo is anymore. That was wasn't that 15 years ago? Dynamo was a thing.
I only know about him because the YouTube algorithm gave me him predicting the 2000 and whatever World Cup recently. But
okay, nice.
Good on him. They discover that Ike is gone. Ramiro does a great job of smacking these handcuffs off, almost as if he's done it before.
No, it's Jerome. It's Jerome who does it with the. He gets the pin.
Oh, I was pretty sure Ramiro did it.
No, so Ramiro, it's really funny because Ramiro grabs a hammer and he's about to just start bashing them, which won't work.
Oh, okay.
And then,
my brain did some weird. Yeah.
Jerome and Clemence come around the corner, and Ramiro like goes to like throw the hammer at them, which is just like, that's not. What are you doing, Ramiro? Like, how have you killed the man?
Yeah, so maybe it's because like Jerome told him how to do it, and then he handed the hammer or something. I was like, oh, Ramiro did it. He played a part. He played a part there.
Ramiro's a key individual in this, all right. But yeah, Jerome is the one who actually like knows how to like knock the little bar out of the handcuffs, which does, to me, more or less confirm the theory that he was arrested. I mean, they do kind of say it in this by the end of this episode, to be honest. But he was arrested because of Lucien's betrayal and was forced to escape prison and seek his revenge as a fugitive.
Yeah. Lucien also comes back to his room now. It's empty. Clemence isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And gets a gun.
Yeah, gets strapped. Everyone's got guns, actually, as it turns out. Like, he's got his letter and he's got his gun and he's ready for action.
Yeah, we actually had a gun fired in this episode as well. We didn't say whenever Jerome was going lower decks, they shot a gun on him. And I don't know what my brain did, right? You know, like if you're on a plane, you don't want to shoot a gun because just in case.
It's pressurized.
Yeah, it's pressurized. Yeah, so whenever they shot, in my head I was like, "Don't shoot! You're on a boat."
Yeah, you'll put a hole in the hull.
Yeah. I was like, they're literally on the top of a massive boat. There's no chance of anything happening there.
Just put a cork in it. You'd be all right.
Yeah, put a cork in it. Okay, so the boy leads Mora into a door. We find out that actually it's Oleg's lunch spot. The only thing to mention before we get there is that Cresta sees that.
He does. Yeah, the gang is gathered together. The Avengers form here. And we get a brief moment of, who is it? It's Clemence, Ike, Jerome, Ramiro, Boy, and Mora, who autocorrect has changed her name to Maurau in this part of my notes, which is not helpful.
Maurau.
Yeah, so they make it to the lifeboats, and like Ike is fairly aggressive in his questioning of Mora. And the boy kind of like advances on him as if to intimidate him, which is interesting. But he remains speechless, and then Cresta turns up, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I really love that moment where Cresta turns up because he's just like there. He comes down, he sees them all. They're all looking at him, going like, "What?" And then Franz and the rest of them come in behind him, and I just absolutely love that moment because I really, really thought that for a second when I was watching it, I really thought like, oh my god, has Cresta like just done like the quickest heel turn, face turn in history?
Yeah, it was like a big show turn there. It only lasted half of a show.
Yeah, I thought that was what's happening. But yeah, he came down, and then they have this sort of standoff. The boy just like willingly gives himself to the people who want him.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Almost as if he kind of knows what's going to happen and what is expected of him playing his role within this entire thing. Certainly by the end of this episode, I was like, okay, so this is all kind of happening cyclically and has happened before in some manner of speaking.
Okay. Last thing that happens is Jerome goes for the hammer, gets shot, has a flashback attack. Now we've talked about, to be honest with you, we've talked about most of this Lucien and Jerome stuff already. Is there anything in this last flashback attack that you wanted to mention?
So, I mean, the one thing I would point out in it, and this I could be completely wrong, but Jerome gets shot, and the way he kind of passes out, closes his eyes, and Clemence kind of screams, I thought he'd been killed, to be honest. Like, I was definitely given the impression he died, and then he wakes up and he's only been shot in the arm. Now, I've never been shot in the arm, so I can't attest to this, but I don't think you would pass out from that. So I didn't watch it back, but I wonder if he was actually shot in the arm initially, or if he was shot somewhere else, and then it kind of like the simulation altered where he'd been shot because he still needed to be alive or something like that.
Well, I'm not actually sure. I mean, he went into his flashback attack, so I'm not actually sure how much that does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it could be, there could be all sorts of fuckery going on here, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, the end result is that he wakes up having like relived this moment where Lucien turned on him, turned him in as a deserter and sent him to prison. And and says, "Oh, you can sell the Legion of Honor medal in prison," and we know he didn't do that, which tells us something of the hatred he holds for Lucian, because it's like, well, he made his life actively harder in prison just so he could have the moment of giving Lucian back the medal and fucking him over, which is kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, no, I really like that as well. I love the idea of him walking around prison wearing the medal, just like
yeah, exactly. Yeah, someone sees him like that's stolen valor.
Yeah, exactly. Cresta chooses to follow his mum again, sort of doubling down here after Tova pleads with him not to. We've talked about a lot about Cresta's turn there. Anything in particular? Oh, is this where you wanted to unload on the Tova stuff?
Yeah. So. Where is it here? I know I wrote it down in my notes. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay. So, Tova chastises Cresta for siding with the insane family, which is fair. That's a fair thing, I think, for her to say. Cresta responds that she has to stop blaming them for what happened to her. Now, I think that's an interesting way to frame Ada's death, which is what I assumed at first they were talking about. Like, what happened to her is that Ada died, which makes me think, okay, no, they're talking about something else here. And I think that what they might be implying here is that Ada was Tova's child, not her mother's, because that was her younger sister, right?
Yeah.
So, and I wonder whether either the girl she's carrying at the moment, or the child she's carrying at the moment, or Ada was the result of maybe some traumatic, I don't want to say romantic relationship, but some kind of sexual, like traumatic sexual interaction, like, or some abuse maybe. Could even be her father. That was one of the things I was thinking about. Like, is like this kind of like close knit religious nutjob community. You do find lots of instances of incest, of like sexual abuse within families. So I do wonder whether maybe that's what's happening here with Tova. And that was that was one of the theories I wrote down. There's not really any evidence for that, but it just struck me as weird the way Cresta's like, stop blaming everyone for what happened to you specifically.
Right. Okay. So, out of curiosity, read the actual theory you've written down, because I think I'll tell you what you should write down. Okay. Let's say this here. What you should write down is Tova's pregnancy is a result of abuse. Okay. What did you write?
So that's not what I wrote. I'll say that much for free. First theory is Ada was Tova's daughter, not her mother's. Her mother being...
Oh, yeah, okay. I forgot about the Ada part, yeah.
And the second theory was... Where's it gone? In fact, actually, I didn't even write that in the theory matrix, so there's no theory in there.
There you go. I've just given you a theory because that's basically what you were saying.
I must have. You know what? I like, these Norwegians might be on something now, because I know I wrote something down there, but I must have done it and either accidentally deleted it or not saved it, because it's
there. It is, everyone. There it is, everyone. The moment I get to correct Konrad in episode 4. So you've been saying Norwegians in Danish, so I've been letting it go. There's no Norwegians. It's just Danish people.
Are they not Norwegian? I could have sworn it says in Norwegian in this show.
No, well, maybe there's one Norwegian or something, but like, no, it's a Danish family. So because you've been saying Norwegians and Danish, I've just been like letting it go. But now you've just said Norwegians, I've got to step in. I've
got quite a lot of friends who are both Norwegian and Swedish, and they will absolutely love to make fun of me for mixing up that, because that is. I apologise to anyone from Scandinavia or Northern Europe for any offence caused, because I'm just like, these fucking Norwegians.
The religious types. No, they are Danish.
He's like maybe the beard man, not the dad, but the other beard man who's with them.
The ginger beard man.
Yeah, is he maybe Norwegian?
Yeah, he looks Norwegian.
Yeah, maybe he's Norwegian, and I've just been like, well, they all look like that, don't they? Like, I'm just like,
yeah, you've just like you tarred a whole bloody part of the world with the same brush.
I still remember the Vikings.
Yeah, what I love about it is only the true fans who listen to an hour into our podcast get to hear me correcting you, Konrad.
Yeah, exactly. That's a treat.
That's their treat.
That's their little prize.
Everyone who turns off because you were getting things wrong, they don't get to hear the eventual thing. You have to put up with it, otherwise you don't get it. Okay, so let's say here, that's the Cresta stuff. Jerome rescues. This is the part, right? So Jerome rescues them all and basically starts saying, "We've got to do something about this." And this is the part where literally the opposite side now is now in a situation where I start hearing, "Do you hear the people sing?" Like,
There's just like a tricolor like waving in the background behind Jerome as he like beats the shit out of a guard with a hammer and then like frees the prisoners. And like, we've got to do something. It's like, I believe in you, Jerome.
Yeah, so they've basically said like we can't let them do this. We can't let them get the boy. We can't let them do this. And they're just like you know what, you're right. We need to do something about it.
And everyone understands, even though no one speaks the same language as him, apart from Clemence. They're all like, I get the gist. I understand.
Yeah, there's a few moments in this show where they just go, you know what. There's a lot of language going on right now, but let's just say the emotion gets across. Yeah. There's a few moments that they do that, and I think, to be honest with you, they usually pick the right moments for it.
Yeah, definitely.
So Ivan says the devil wears many disguises. He must go overboard, and like basically wants to throw the boy overboard. There's a massive fight to stop this. Mora tries to step in, but she is unable to stop. Like, while this is all going on, Ivan grabs the boy and through the chaos drags him to the side and throws him off the edge.
Yeah, and it's just like this incredibly tense slow motion shot of Mora rushing to try and get to him as like rain sheets down across everyone. It's brilliantly directed and shot. And yeah, the boy just kind of lets it happen again, almost as if he kind of expected it to happen. And then Daniel emerges and appears to sort of try to drag Mora to safety, which is an interesting stance, I find, because he's kind of directly responsible for all of this, like based on what we see. Which kind of reaffirms my belief that he's doing this, but he's not happy about it. He has to do this for, whatever he's trying to set up within the simulation or whatever he's trying to fix.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then Ike, as you say, calls for retreat, and then also like Daniel drags Mora, and then also Lucien drags Clemence away from Jerome. He's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" and drags Clemence away. We get Cresta like sitting on the stairs praying forgiveness. It seems. I don't know what he's doing, but he does seem to be praying. Lots of little shots of, not much to be said about them. But then next scene is them all regrouping in the dining room. So Mora's side of the argument or the big fight is in the dining room. So Mora can't believe they killed the boy. He didn't, and what she's like, being torn up by is that he didn't even fight it. He just accepted it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Daniel comforts her. Now I want to stop here just for a moment before we continue. They do share a moment there, Daniel and Mora.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm going to call it it's not fraternal. I don't know what you call that, the relationship between a brother and a sister. A moment of like sibling affection. I was going to say
Sibternal. Yeah.
It's actually that's how little I know about that word that I was going to believe that was real. Sibternal. There it is.
No, I have no idea.
But we know she has a brother. I still just think Daniel's her brother. I've got no evidence for that, but I feel like there's definitely a moment between them, but it doesn't feel romantic to me, but it does feel like genuine affection, which is why I think, maybe they're brother and sister and they just don't remember each other, or Mora doesn't remember him. So that's great. And Daniel remains this absolute enigma of a character, because as I say, he caused this entire thing, and yet he seems genuinely remorseful for the damage he has caused. Yet he must have known it would happen, because he kept fucking killing people. He's killed like 40 people.
Yeah. He's definitely up there with the numbers. Like, he's got the best numbers. Ivan's only killed one.
Exactly.
But
terrible.
Yeah. So Ike
Those are
demands.
Rookie numbers.
Yeah. So Ike demands why Mora is on the passenger list of the Prometheus.
Yes.
And just before she's able to answer, she's saved by the bell. There's knocking within a little cupboard. There is then a bright light comes through the cracks. Open the door. Out comes the boy.
Out he pops.
Everyone is in complete shock except for Daniel.
Yeah.
And then he walks up to Mora, gives her a hug. Blue oyster cult.
Yeah.
Don't fear the Reaper. please.
Yeah, so this is such a good ending to an episode. Like
The end of these episodes are top quality.
An absolute banger of a song. And yeah, Mora genuinely seems confused about Ike confronting her about the passenger list. I still think I don't think she was ever on the Prometheus. I've said before, I think they're different instances of the same class. There was a Mora on that ship who looks and sounds and behaves exactly like this Mora, but they're completely different versions of the same person. So I think that is the truth there. I've got no idea what's happening with the glow being emitted from the cabinet in the bar and the boy coming back, except that it's a similar glow, I guess, to what we saw on the Prometheus at the end of the last episode. So maybe it's a similar kind of technology. But yeah, him coming back and hugging her and fucking "Don't Fear the Reaper" playing is just perfect. It's just a perfect ending. I will say as well, like, it only really struck me in this episode, and this is clear. This is a clear sign that I'm not paying enough attention, obviously, that I don't understand why we're using like 70s and 80s rock for a period movie set in a period series set in 1899, even though I don't really believe it's set in 1899 anymore. Like, I hadn't really thought about that. I was just like, oh, that's cool. They're playing all these songs from this era. And then in this episode, I was like, why are they playing "Don't Fear the Reaper" for something set in 1899? Like, this song wouldn't be written for like another 100 years, or not, well, more like 65 years. But like, it was. I mean, I love it, but it's hinting at something. It's definitely hinting at something that they haven't fully explained yet.
Definitely is hinting at something. I do remember one of my first videos I made post-release, Vic Disco, long-time listener, put in the comments saying that he loved the show, but one thing that he thought that it was a little bit of a sort of chalk and cheese in terms of the songs and in the show. He think they didn't really fit as well as maybe the Dark Montage songs did. But I have to say, like, I see credibility in that idea, but at the same time, I actually really did like them, and I think
I love
the transition from the score to those songs for me wasn't too jarring. I think not at all. Actually, I think the ends of the episodes ending with the songs really does. Really, like, gets me out of the seat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, hypes you up. That's how I feel. Like, they might. I kind of see. I see what they're saying, and that it's like maybe tonally or like thematically they don't work quite as well, even though I think the messages of the songs are definitely, or the titles of the songs are trying to communicate something. But in terms of like a moment that really like crystallizes your enjoyment of an episode, it's like, fuck, I can't wait to watch the next one. That this was definitely that for me. So here we go. There's a few for this one, not as many as the last one. So the Norwegians aren't going to get the boy. He's going to disappear in the shaft. So that was proposed this episode and concluded in this episode. Bit of a gimme.
Well, that's definitely no, it's not a gimme at all. You've got that wrong.
Why?
Because there's no.
Oh, I suppose they did. All right. Okay. Here we go. Here we go.
Change it to the Danish.
They're ribbing me,
and I'll give it to you.
The Danish.
Yeah. Oh god. I mean, like, if this was a professional sport, you would not be getting the point. Let's be honest.
I'd be laughed out of the sport if I imagine that. I think Mr. McGregor is very much aware of what this ship is and what is happening aboard it, meaning the simulation level stuff. Daniel input a command to the Kerberos, and the next thing that happens... Oh, wait, hold on. That's like... Oh, yeah. Next thing that happens is all the guards watching Oleg and Jerome turn around. I think he made them do that. Jerome was arrested as a result of Lucian's betrayal and was forced to escape and is now a fugitive, so that was kind of concluded in this episode as well. There's still a little bit of... I guess, like, guessing there about him being a fugitive, but...
I mean, yeah.
Ada was Tova's mother, not... Ada was Tova's daughter. We're not getting into that again. Oh, no. No, not going down that road again. Ada was Tova's daughter, not her mother's. And Tova's current child is the result of abuse. So that's what we've got so far. A light-hearted batch of theories.
Yeah. This one got you thinking in quite dark ways, actually, this episode.
Dude, yeah.
We're halfway through. Halfway through, again, we don't want to talk about spoilers of Dark, but halfway through Dark, there was definitely a moment. was episode 5 in season 1 actually, because there was 10 in the first season. There was a big reveal. Now in this episode we didn't really get a big reveal.
No,
we got a huge moment though. We got a big moment of the boy coming back. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what you think about everything else going forward. I suppose the only thing left to do is to get your post thoughts. No what the dub this week, guys. Sorry.
Hello, we're back. I've just finished watching episode 4, The Fight, and wow, what an episode. That was really, really good. That Don't Fear the Reaper ending was so kick-ass. I love that song, and the way that it kind of wraps up the episode is fantastic. The boy is back. Jerome is a goddamn war hero, or fight hero, I guess. I love the crew of cool people that have been assembled, that are kind of on the other side of this conflict to the mutineers. Tove's mother has become antagonist number 1 in the show. She's a monster, and I can't wait to see more of them. And Daniel is a mystery that I still can't seem to figure out at all. So yeah, I can't wait to see what's coming next. We got lots of Jerome and Oleg in this episode. Long may it continue. I thought we'd lost Jerome for a bit there, but we didn't in the end, thank God. But yeah, I can't wait to see what's coming next. I think at some point they're going to have to explain what all this like 60s, 70s and 80s music that they're playing is about in relation to the setting of the show. But until then, I can't wait to just see it delivered as maybe a thing that the creators thought was cool and sounded good. But yeah, so I can't wait to see the next one, and I will see you all next week.
Well, there you go, guys. That's episode 4 of 1899 season 1 done. Konrad, overall, did you like it?
Oh, I loved it. This was probably my second favourite episode after the first one. I'm going to say I love that ending. It really, really got me hyped for the next episode. I love where this show is going. As you said before, there's no massive reveal in this episode, but I feel like we're no more than one episode removed from there being something really, really earth-shattering that's going to come out about this, I think.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. So pop your questions in the comments, guys. If I see a really cool question, I'll maybe ask Konrad about it. Just, check out our other stuff on the channel as well. Konrad's got a really cool video, which I'm not going to spoil, coming out soon. So if you're new to our channel and you've been listening to Konrad's crazy theories, you've never really seen Konrad before, well, you're going to see a great Konrad video coming out soon. I'm also going to be putting out a video at some point in the next couple of days, just a little, very short, 5-10 minute update of the whole plagiarism thing. There has actually been what I would call a potential conclusion to that, so we'll let you know about that as well. Apart from that, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.